Oh, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Excellence in Environmental Health section of our CCDEH training conference. I'd like to again thank Hedro for sponsoring our conference this year.
All right.
We like to remind everyone that all of the past training videos and the annual meeting have been posted to the website under the video library tab, as Tim is showing right now. If you'd like to sign up for more training sessions, log into the website and sign up under events. Don't forget, in order to get your CEU certificate after the training session is over, you must log into your member account at www.ccdeh.org and complete the evaluation form for the specific section you attended. We're asking for all session evaluations to be completed by November 5th, and the certificates will be posted to your member account on the website by November 24th. Please don't forget, all questions must be put into the Q&A, not into the chat, down in the Q&A section of the Zoom. And we'll have a question and answer session at the end of the program. Tim Snellings is going to be moderating the Q&A at the end, and after the Q&A, we'll be presenting a polling question for voting. You must be present to vote. Obviously, you can't vote if you're not on the line. And with that, I would like to introduce April Meneghetti, our past CCDEH president and Yolo County EH director, to introduce the program. Take it away, April.
All right, thanks, Dave. So we've got some really great, exciting presentations for you today. As a reminder, Cheryl sent out the assessment survey criteria to you all yesterday. You should have gotten an email yesterday afternoon. So you'll want to use this for your scoring as the presentations are going on. And then, like Dave said, there'll be a survey at the end that everybody will be able to do and vote for your pick for winner. So to start us off, we're presenting in alphabetical order, and we're going to start with Monterey counties, and they're going to be doing a presentation on the Public Health Leadership Institute, and the presenter today is going to be Rick Encarnacion. He's the acting director for the Environmental Health Bureau. Rick began his career in environmental health in the 90s while serving in the U.S. Navy as a hospital corpsman, preventive medicine technician. In 1999, Rick then earned his REHS with the County of San Diego, Department of Environmental Health, Food and Housing Division. In 2003, he received CHA's Stuart Richardson Award in recognition for his contributions to environmental health through education. He went on to complete his master's degree in 2005 at San Diego State University's Graduate School of Public Health, where he was also recognized as the Environmental Health Outstanding Student for his graduating class. In 2011, he completed work with the CDC Environmental Health Leadership Institute as a graduate fellow, where he learned fundamental principles on how to make a difference in the field and bring about positive, meaningful change. In 2012, he made the move up to Monterey County to serve as the Environmental Health Bureau's assistant director, and since December, he has been the acting director of environmental health. All right, we're excited for your presentation. Take it away, Rick.
Thank you, April. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, CCDEH members and guests. I am Rick Encarnacion, acting director of the Environmental Health Bureau for the County of Monterey. It is with great pleasure that I present again to this prestigious group, Monterey County's Environmental Public Health Leadership Institute, also known as MEPHLI, as an official submission for the 2021 CCDEH Award of Excellence. Originally presented back in 2019, I felt it now important and timely to update our current and ongoing efforts and how continued, sustained MEPHLI principles have carried us through this most challenging time of COVID and beyond. Looking back at all the past winners, we can see that all of these have a leadership thread running through them. No matter what the subject or focus was, leadership ties them all together and elevates them to excellence. Even when I served in the Navy as part of the Environmental Health Unit, or with the County of San Diego as a team supervisor, or as part of CHA's chapter and executive boards, leadership was key. It is crucial, specifically for that individual in the field, working alone or on a team, with a specific case or with a large project. That individual has to understand their potential and responsibility as an environmental health leader. As directors, mentors, and coaches, we all realize that developing leaders is one of our charges to pass on, to ensure teams are successful and resilient, not just in words or on paper, but in action and results. Still, in all these years for me, I noticed that no project or program that was specifically designed to build and teach environmental health leadership has been recognized by CCDH's Award of Excellence. Now more than ever with COVID, with leadership turnover in our ranks, with the concern of environmental health leadership and legacy surviving change, and the future of environmental health leadership, all of this is on the forefront of every environmental health director's mind, both veteran and new directors. This is the reason why my former director, John Ramirez, and myself thought it so important to include fostering leadership in our long-range planning, to establish a learning environment and build a team. This is why I'd like to make the case for MEPHLI to be recognized by CCDH and offer our template as a model for others to use and modify as their own, as the return on investment in team leadership is great and rewarding. So planning for MEPHLI started back in 2012, as soon as I joined the County of Monterey. The initial planning took approximately 6 months, and with the Institute being established in 2013. Every year after that, after the initial cohort, it took approximately just about 2 months to prep for the next cohort as the current cohort neared graduation. MEPHLI includes a curriculum spread out over 10 months, modeled after the CDC's Environmental Public Health Leadership Institute. MEPHLI includes the basics of leadership training, but learning with the focus on environmental health and public health impacts. Both John and I attended the CDC's training at different times. They called it ePhilly. So both ePhilly and MEPHLI require the completion of an environmental health project. John's project was creating a public stakeholder multi-agency group to address illegal dumping. And my project was an intervention program that countered illegal food vending. Key parts of our leadership training for environmental health individuals has 3 basic elements: self-awareness, knowing yourself and how others think of you to learn how to leverage your strengths and overcome your weaknesses, a professional development plan, and learning project management. Other elements also include understanding the power of choice, emotional intelligence, 7 habits, systems thinking. We incorporated the 10 essential services of public health and crisis communication, all in effort to create and bring out the best fit in all, the 3 C's. MEPHLI is designed to build character, hone competency, and improve communication. All of this ultimately has led to our readiness and capacity to respond to major issues like COVID in 2020 and up to today, and I believe beyond. Here is a link to our MEPHLI page. It's available on our webpage. You can browse background information on some of the projects and about the course itself, several of the cohorts. We do have to update the most current cohort on here. You can even look at videos of the presentations and projects. So as you all vote later, you can look back at the award criteria and compare all the submissions to the MEPHLI and how it stands out with the rest. So with the first criteria, we can ask, does MEPHLI possess innovative and effective use of program methods and problem solving to enhance environmental health in the community? I say yes. We modeled the program after basic elements of CDC's Environmental Health Leadership Institute. Again, we attended the course we attended over a decade ago. John and I highlighted even back then the importance of leadership training specifically for environmental health professionals and organizations. This provided John and I the vision to create a local leadership program for us to foster that learning environment that would benefit not only our people within, but the community we serve. Now, where we differed with the CDC's program is we built it to be self-sustainable, to be resilient, to weather change. We did this by creating an in-house league of leaders, of coaches. We also initiated enhancements directly affecting environmental health in the community. Here you see a list of some of the projects the cohort attendees worked on to be positive agents of change. Next criteria to vote on is, have there been improvements in productivity? In this case, because of MEPHLI, I say yes. An observation on my part as a manager has been an increased level of morale, which also means an increased level of accountability, in part to a clarity of expectations and understanding of one's own capacity through MEPHLI. On this slide are just some examples showing improvement over time. The box on top shows how we improved our complaint response time. The second graph displays the rate of our inspection compliance for one of our programs. And the last graph, this one is a little hard to read, but it's a month-to-month comparison of our environmental health permitted businesses that closed compared to businesses that opened. This is through 2020 to 2021. And you can see the dramatic impact COVID has, as well as the recovery state we currently are in. Red is the closures, greens are the opens. So I'm confident, I'm very confident that our MEPHLI efforts can be associated with these measurable outcomes. I admit our organization still has shortcomings, don't we all? Issues that come with the lack of resources, the unexpected and unintended consequences. But in applying productivity principles we teach in MEPHLI, our teams were able to meet the challenge that 2020 and 2021 had brought. COVID, wildfire, Big Sur washout of Highway 1, it just fell into the ocean, a big section of it, floods. Even with all of that and other things, our services continued. Have there been cost savings as a result of MEPHLI? I say yes. We created it to be self-sustaining and flexible. Early on, John and I saw the importance of establishing in-house expertise for MEPHLI. We established our own coaching staff, starting with our supervisors, who fostered the cohort members' own professional development plans. And eventually, they took over the planning of the succeeding cohorts. Cost savings is realized through the use of in-house resources and ensuring we have the capacity to scale the cohort to current budget capacity. Has there been sustained improvements of excellence as documented by specific outcomes and achievements over the preceding 3 to 5 years with MEPHLI? I say yes. Since the establishment of MEPHLI in 2013, we have graduated the majority of our staff, over 50%. It's recognized locally by our own CAO. Our own human resources training unit has even reached out to us to see what's going right. Staff morale again and engagement have improved. Staff even compete to be in the succeeding cohorts. I've seen this even through the interview process. All of our supervisors have participated and some staff who've attended have actually become supervisors. I've seen how this training has prepared those competing for advancement. Again, going back to the 3 C's. Staff engagement and morale is high and resilient, even though the hardships and challenges of things like COVID. With COVID, we immediately applied MEPHLI principles, prioritizing staff safety, adapting to work conditions, and providing continued services. Responding to COVID as an environmental health professional, COVID, a deadly, highly deadly contagious agent, where there was a time when we didn't know how persistent it was in the environment. There were so many unknowns, so much confusion, misinformation, resistance to rules and regs. After addressing safety issues and work priorities, we moved forward with establishing our role in COVID as the Environmental Health Bureau. We made close contacts through outreach and education. And when needed, did enforcement by following the workflow we established. Here's an example. Applying MEPHLI concepts of planning and systems thinking. Now, yes, it was difficult. Yes, it was challenging. However, I firsthand had observations of how our team carried on through. During those challenging, we had enforcement cases. We had enforcement cases, it's true. Even one ended up, unfortunately, with a revoked permit. But one notably came into compliance with full active managerial control things in place. Here's an example. I have a little, you can read this a little bit as I go along. During those times when vaccines were not available and incidence rates of death and disease from COVID were so high, we were designated as the point of contact, the point of control for many of our stakeholders. But it was very surprising, as many of you may have encountered, when our field partners and others didn't provide the same support they used to, such as they did before to preserve the peace when a rat-infested food facility refuses to close. But with COVID, we found ourselves with no support. Environmental health was pretty much left out to respond on our own. With MEPHLI teachings and principles, our team continued with positive results. We continued our services and adapted where we needed. Again, our own HRs recognized our own efforts and at times has turned to our program to say and ask us, what are you doing right? What can we do to emulate you? Another noteworthy indicator of excellence is that we were recognized by NACHO, the National Association of the County and City Health Officials, a national entity for our MEPHLI efforts as a model practice. Another sign of sustainability is with John also retiring in December, we remain determined to carry on his legacy. MEPHLI principles have become the foundation of our operations, most evident during COVID. Lastly, criteria in MEPHLI, has there been successful involvement of people, managers, staff, industry, and the public in reaching the goals of the program? I say yes. From the beginning, the vision was to be all-inclusive and to reach out to the public to find resources and inspiration, to bust down silos, to modernize our approach to environmental health. Understand the system where we can be positive agents of change. Frontline staff have their confidence and are capable enough to engage the public at town hall meetings, such as we did with the wildfire rebuilds, developing a plastics ordinance, putting out our point of use water treatment ordinance. At a recent Board of Supervisor meeting where we had to discuss organics recycling, SB 1383, I firsthand witnessed our MEPHLI grads having a meaningful conversation with the Board of Supervisors on this complex topic. I was so proud of their confidence and competence. Now, these are some of the current and future projects that the application of MEPHLI teaching and principles are playing a part. Again, with COVID, our COVID response, our moment of truth, what we as environmental health professionals have trained for, to serve as an RHS and an environmental health team in a public health disaster, that make or break moment where we as directors and leaders work towards, ensuring our team can meet the challenge. Our MEPHLI level of response was immediate. We had field safety protocols, education and outreach, specifically for food and for our employee housing. We have some examples here, and all of these documents are available for viewing on the CCDH website. And lastly, we also had enforcement procedures, which was our last resort. Other upcoming projects include incorporating government and race and equity insights, GARE. Some of you may have heard of it, specifically within the development of a proactive environmental health housing program. Another one is participating in the county's community resilience plan, an enhancement to routine environmental health disaster response and preparedness. Environmental health's role in water sustainability projects, not just water quality, but such an important topic. We're all in a drought, and it's not changing the climate change. But what is our role in water quantity and sustainability? We plan on telling also our stories through meaningful performance measures, being bold enough to associate environmental health performance measures of prevention to lowered incident rates of illness, injury, and death. And last but not least, improving public access to environmental services beyond our office walls, understanding and implementing access to environmental services in the spirit of meeting the 10 essential services of public health, while assuring workforce accountability. So this now, MEPHLI, is a tradition, part of our tradition. Tradition and ceremony is an essential part of MEPHLI. Tradition gives us pride. sets the legacy to move forward, and MEPHLI has become part of our organization's character. MEPHLI gives us with the sense of ongoing environmental public health leadership and most of all, excellence. So with that, I'd like to thank you all for your time and consideration, and please think of MEPHLI and leadership and excellence as you compare and rate us with each of the criteria to vote. Thank you.
All right, great job, Rick. Thank you so much. We're going to move on to April. You want to introduce the next one?
Sure. Next up, we have Riverside County, and the presenter is going to be Greg Reyes. He's the program chief. Greg has been an RHS since 1997. Over the past 24 years, he has worked in a wide variety of EH programs and is currently a program chief overseeing the land use, environmental cleanup, LPA, LEA, medical waste, and body arc programs. He's also the point person on the department's data conversion of paper records to digital files. Take it away, Greg.
All right. Again, Greg Reyes, Program Chief with the Riverside County Department of Environmental Health. And so let me walk you through our digital well record program. And, oh, why have I lost control? There we go. So just like any other environmental health department, we have paper, lots of paper, all in all of our offices. I sit in an office that has almost 100 file cabinets full of paper documents, and I oversee the land use programs, septic, wells, water systems. We get a lot of traffic into these offices because they want to see public records requests. They want to know if there's plans for a septic system that needs to be repaired. Do I have a well on this property? Or were there any other issues? The environmental cleanup is one of my programs. Was there any other sort of contamination on this site? So we look at this as an opportunity. We need to find a better way to manage our data. We are a large department. We have 7 offices across Riverside County with more than 100 staff spread across the county. Our programs are not centralized to any one office. So in the case of our land use programs and our wells, which I'm going to discuss with you today, we actually had those records primarily in 2 distinct offices. So we looked at this as an opportunity to figure out a way to be better. We spend an awful lot of time with people coming to the counter asking for well records. Riverside County is a growing community. We have a lot of development. People want to know if a piece of property has or had a well, or they found a well on the property. Is that well permitted? Can I use it for individual drinking? Can I use it for potable water source? So our staff would spend a lot of time searching through records, hopefully finding the record they want in that office, or having to call over to another office and have somebody spend some extra time looking to see if we had any records at all on a particular well. So we saw this as a chance we really needed to find a better way to tackle our well records. So what tools do we have, and what is the best way for us to tackle this project? We wanted to, could we make it faster for staff? And if we made it faster for staff, could we also make it better for the public? So the tools we had at hand at the time, we have Envision Connect, as a number of your agencies do. We had the luxury of having an ArcGIS specialist who works within our department that helps us with mapping and was helping us with districting project, and we looked at it as an opportunity. We also had some limited success. I don't want to say limited. We have been posting our food inspection reports to the web using a separate data system and a separate web overlay. So we had some experience posting public information to the web. What we decided there was another opportunity for us to leverage document management. The county had recently bought, when we started this project, into Laserfiche, a document management product. So what we did is we started at phase 1 of this project back in 2017. We got a grant we used the CRT settlement, if those of you who are familiar with that, and use that as seed money to start this project. We had the ultimate goal of putting kiosks in our main traffic offices. We put one kiosk in each office that does well approvals. And our plan was to try to put some limited information on wells and where wells existed in space and time to help those individuals who were coming in and asking that question. We found that a lot of the public record requests for wells were really fairly simple. Does a well exist, and where does it exist? And most people, once they got that information, didn't really need a lot more from the department. But we were tying up staff with a lot of time, sometimes hours, looking through our paper records. So in 2017, when we got this grant, we focused some time and energy in both of our land use offices, and we used our office assistants and our staff, and we went through and we cleaned up all our paper records, and we looked at our Envision Connect data on this and made sure that we had appropriate geocoding on all of our well records. So then version 1 of our web interface was posted in mid-2018. And so it's similar to what you see here. We basically put blue dots on a map, and in any individual, this is available on our website, in our kiosk, in our office, and we would direct the public to those locations to look for a well. They could search by their address, they could search by an APN, or they could simply jump on a map, similar to when you jump on Google Earth, zoom into a particular area and see whether or not there was a well in that vicinity or anywhere around that piece of property. We found immediately this was an effective tool for us. It cut foot traffic from the public right off the bat in half. And then what we also found additionally is we also do a lot of planning cases and building permits. We work with county planning. We also have MOUs to do well approvals on new construction or repairs for both septic and wells in 14 of the 28 cities in Riverside County. So we would get a lot of requests from city and county entities asking whether a particular site had a well, because if it had a well, they would bypass sending that customer to us for records check, and they would move straight into permitting for the building project or whatever was going on site. So we suddenly noticed a downtick in the amount of requests for records from city and county agencies. Like, this is great. We're freeing up time. We can spend more time on septic. We can spend more time on plans. We're not tying up staff for hours just looking at wells all day long and trying to find a well on a property. This is great. We're doing a good job. So let's kick it up a notch. Let's look at our well records. We had records going back 30 years on wells and well completion reports. So let's take the next step and let's try and scan these records into the system and see if there's a faster way. And when someone does need us to look at the records, we'll be able to pull those records up electronically as opposed to sifting through files, hoping somebody filed it correctly the last time somebody looked for records. All those constant problems you have with paper records. So we again enlisted staff to go through. They cleaned up the records. We narrowed down every file down to just base records that we needed for public, that we normally give for public records requests. The well completion report, any data in the system, on the system depths and what it was designed for. And we went through and we talked to the Laserfish experts, and we said, okay, well, how do we do this? They go, well, your best idea, bring a vendor in and have them, prep your records, and we'll scan in a bulk run through all your records, and we'll take a look, and you're going to have your records in the system. Laserfish will read them all with OCR, character recognition, and everything will work great. And we're like, that's awesome. All right, we prepped everything. We spent about 6 months prepping records, got everything scanned, brought in a consultant to bring in a high capacity scanner. They went through and cranked through our records. We got 40,000 records scanned and in the system. Oh, but that became a mess. What we found is optical character recognition didn't work. So what we ended up with is we basically took things out of a file cabinet, scanned them into large documents, and then they just became really large PDF files. So we found that wasn't an effective use of the scanning, but we had already done all 40,000 files. So they were mostly not usable because we couldn't track which site was which. So the next part of it, we basically end up pulling staff back and we had to set some office staff. Half their day was spent pulling these PDFs apart and tagging all the records, making sure that they had the appropriate naming, they were tied to a distinct permit, and so that we could identify them in space and time. Because our real goal was here to allow staff to be able to pull these records quickly. So what we did is we took a step back from that, and we realized there's a better way to do this. So we got a different consultant in than the consultant we used the first time. And what we found was the better way to do this was to be very clear on the records when we pull them and get them into the system. So we came up with a specific file naming protocol, locations where staff could load these well records in, and then we let the system do some of the work that we were doing by hand before. So Laserfiche, when it would pull a record in that we had just scanned, we tied it to our Envision database. So as long as there was a well record in Envision and a well record on the record that was being scanned in, it tied those two pieces of information together, and then it tagged the record with the address, the location, the APNs, and any sort of geocoding. So now all of a sudden we were making references, the appropriate references to these records. And we're like, great, we've managed this. This is working great. We were starting to see gains. Staff were now able to reference these records electronically. Someone would request look at our portal. They'd find a record. They'd give us a well permit number. Staff would look on the back end. They'd find that well permit, and they could pull it up rather quickly. They could email it to the customer, or they could show it to them right there, or print out a copy for them on the side. We were gaining speed in this program. But that shouldn't be the end all. Wells are great, but we get lots of other public records requests, just like every other department across the board. So let's do something bigger, something broader. Let's take what we learned from digital well records and find a better way to be more productive, to provide information faster, to conserve staff time by pushing information out to the public in a more readily available form. So what we've done is COVID, as we all know, created a halt in most of our normal activities. It was unfortunate. We all found different ways to work. We were working from home. We were finding other things to do than do inspections due to the pandemic. We looked at this as an opportunity to find a better way to manage our data in all our programs. So what we did is we took the model we had created over the well record program, and we started applying it to other data sets. We found that we could take the records we were creating in our field inspection system, so again, Envision Connection Remote, and we could automatically take those PDFs that were being created on site during the inspection, feed them in through this Laserfiche process, get them indexed, tagged, geocoded, and dropped into the back-end system in an organized fashion so that we can eventually move towards digital record views, just like we're doing with wells. So up to this point, from 2018 to now, we've been mostly working with the well records. In the last year and a half, we've been shifting over to all our record types. As of last week, we were just under 200,000 individual records that were indexed in Laserfiche, identified by program, identified by type, and searchable by a variety of different field types. We're working on the view that's going to be, and that's what I'm going to show you as our last piece of my presentation today, is what this really looks like. Because it's great to show you slides, but you guys would rather see live data. So what I'm showing you here is the County of Riverside, and I apologize if there's some lag when I'm moving around because this is a big screen. What we have is, this is our well data for the entire county. So each of those dots represent a well. So as you can see, this is an interactive map that people can roll into, see a particular area, We can use the search up here, but I'm just going to use the map function to roll in and out of given areas because it's a better representation of what we're talking about here. And I can select a particular record, and it will tell me if there's a well there. This is our well permit number. Agricultural and industrial, agriculture and industrial. Let's scroll out to a residential area, find that there's a monitoring well, domestic water supply well. So this is what has helped us with a lot of records requests because customers now can see their own wells without contacting the department. Where we are at our next phase is we're about to go live with allowing the public to see all the records tied to a particular well. Because like I said, we've been working on that indexing. We broke all those 40,000 records apart. We've indexed them. They're geocoded. Everybody knows they are tied now to these blue dots. So we do this. This is the Laserfish. This pushes us into our Laserfish backend, and it goes right into the well completion report for this particular site. Shows basically the exact form that was filled out and presented when the record was approved. That's great. But Greg, you were talking about other records and you were talking about other things. Why are you showing me just wells? Well, because that's where we started and that was the title of my presentation. But really, it's not where we end. So where we are right now is we're in the middle of indexing those 200,000 records. But I do have a number of programs that are ready to show. So in this case, I'm going to turn off the wells for a second so you can see these other records. So there's our body art programs. That was our first tester in the non-land use programs to get a feel for where all our body art sites were around the county. So same thing, when we click on these records, it tells me what site I'm at, the record information, the address. I can jump in, I can see the inspections. I can go to a particular inspection, and this is exactly what staff issued on site with signature to that site on that inspection date. All of this is going to be accessible to the public, downloadable and printable in its current form. But it's not just body art records. As you'll see, we've got another tab up here. We've been loading records furiously. This covers our food, pool, tobacco, mobile home park, and our camp program. So all of this data is now indexed and usable on our back end. So again, everything is available. Every record that we have is available to search. We're going to work on with Laserfish, our Laserfish partners with the county, to put more useful information here so that people can see what they want to see in terms of the date of the record. So there's some small tweaks we're working on right now, but as you can see, this is our mobile home park inspection, but any of these programs I'm showing you right now, any of these dots have whatever records we have for that particular site digitally, accessible via the map, and able to be used by any customer, any public, any county, any agency once we go live with this within the matter of the next couple of weeks. So I think in that case, we're working on the hazmat records right now. We have a structure around this now that we have success.
You got 30 seconds, Greg. 30 seconds.
30 seconds. All right, well, let me wrap up. This has saved a lot of time and effort for our staff with the well programs. We think it's going to save a lot of time and effort, money, cost for our staff across the rest of our programs by building this out and allowing public requests through the web, and so that people don't have to come into the office and try and figure out what's going on at a particular site. But thank you. I appreciate your time.
All right, great job. Thank you. Heather, are you coming back to join us?
I'm here. Can you not see me?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Go ahead.
All right. I'll introduce Heather really quick. Heather is going to be presenting on the San Diego's Plan Check digital review portal. And Heather is the Director of Environmental Health there in San Diego. Heather's originally from the Boston area, graduated from San Diego State University with a Bachelor's of Science in Food Science and Nutrition. She's the Director of Environmental Health for the County of San Diego, Department of Environmental Health and Quality, where she has worked since 2003 and is currently the co-chair of the California Retail Food Safety Coalition. Heather believes in hard work, collaboration, and the power of positivity. She actively seeks opportunities to improve the status quo, pursue innovation, and be a continuous learner. When not at work, you'll find her running, swimming, hiking, eating her husband's cooking, and traveling with her family. Thanks, Heather.
All right. Hi, everybody. It's my honor to be here today, and I'm so excited to share with you the work that San Diego County has done on our Plan Check Review portal. So to start, the County of San Diego, Department of Environmental Health and Quality, Food and Housing Division, our Plan Check program provides Plan Check services for retail food facilities, mobile food facilities, wholesale food distribution warehouses, swimming pools, body art, and massage. Next slide. So I think like many other Plan Check programs throughout the state, our offices were once packed from floor to ceiling with endless rolls of paper plans. And so during fiscal year 2018-19, San Diego County made a large effort to move to a digital submittal platform for customers applying for Plan Check approval. Digital plan review was a huge success, as you could see from our numbers on the screen there, how much it increased. And it was really quickly adopted by San Diego operators, doubling in fiscal year 1920 and again in fiscal year 2021. However, while this was a huge time saver for our customers, internally, our administrative processing of the plans in a digital format was taking 48 minutes longer per plan. So a Plan Check digital review portal was created to assist and streamline the review and approval of construction and remodeling plans for all of our health regulated facilities. So I'm going to just take a step back for a second and start with what our standard steps were for our plan review process. So first, we would review the plans, whether they were digital or paper, and then we'd type up a report in a Microsoft Word doc. And then we'd save and upload those reports as a PDF, locking it with a password to secure the document. Then we'd send an email to the customer and provide the next steps and attach the documents. And then we'd have to go into our record database. We use Acela and update with the results, including updating the workflow, adding any application-specific information, and adding any comments that were unique to that record. And then lastly, we would have to update our separate time accounting database, which in San Diego is Kronos. So before creating the Plan Check digital review portal, there was little to no consistency with our correction and approval letters generated by staff. Copies of the paper correction and approval letters had to be printed twice, with one routed to a paper file system and the other rolled into the plans themselves. When a project was submitted for plan review, staff reviewed the plan, noted any corrections that were needed, and then determined it was approved or not, drafted a correction letter, saved that letter in the share file, opened the database, making the entries, emailing the customer, entering the time spent. So just a lot of steps with this process. Then the paper documents had to be digitally scanned, either in-house or sometimes we use a contracted vendor for our bigger, larger submissions. So all of this was really costing us time and money. Our documents, if digitally saved, were being stored in multiple locations, such as personal and shared drive folders, rather than reaching the official record retention repository. And this was making it really hard to find the records when they were requested. So staff identified a need to automate this review and response process to improve our data tracking as well as reduce our paper waste. So on to the solution part of this. It looks kind of crazy on that screen, but what this is staff worked with a contracted IT vendor to gather requirements, and then they created a digital platform, which is the portal, that would allow real-time data from our established database to sync with updated review, to sync with the updated review data that was collected through this portal. And here's what it looks like when we use it. The Plan Check Digital Review Portal is a web-based platform that combines and automates all of the Plan Check review process steps that we discussed earlier, with the added bonuses of standardizing comments, adding visuals to the comments, and adding reference resources. The review portal itself is the main location for all data captured that and that information is once submitted is transferred directly into all of our main record database. So we're putting all of it in, and then it's one-stop shopping. It all transfers over. Here you can see that the portal allows for both standardized comments as well as free text correction notes, in addition to auto-generating correction and approval emails sent to the customer once a review has been completed. The portal packages the approval letter, attaches the approved plans, and the plans are automatically digitally stamped when they're approved. It password locks the file, it emails the customer, and then syncs all of the documents into our document repository. So pretty amazing, right? Rather than all of those steps we were previously doing, we're doing all of our work in one location, and then it's automatically combining it all, saving it all, emailing the customer in one step. Using the Plan Check Digital Review Portal has reduced staff time by an estimated 40 minutes per project. With an average of 2,500 project submittals and revisions in San Diego each year, this equates to the potential time savings of over 1,600 hours, which in turn helps us to partially offset the need to request additional staff associated with our growth in the county. Providing consistent messaging organized into general categories of requirements and the process for final approvals makes the process more understandable for our customers as well. And the corrections are clearer, as it provides not just the specialist narratives of the requirements, but it provides the plan check sheet and visual markup of exactly what needs to be corrected. It also decreases the plan review turnaround time and is really appreciated by our customers. They love this. Along with the efficiencies of the data entries and eliminating the paper use, implementing the digital review portal created a better customer experience, both internally and externally, by making it faster and easier to search for documents. So moreover, a time savings of 75% of time looking for records and the accompanying documentation is anticipated. And there will only be one digital repository directory of data storage. So everything is now located in one place, and it has become amazingly easy to find our records when we need them. So why is this worthy of an Environmental Health Excellence Award? For starters, it's innovative. As of 2020, statewide representatives of the Food Technical Advisory Committees have indicated that San Diego County is the only county using a digital plan review portal to integrate databases, organize and streamline customer experiences, and automate and standardize the plan review process. The review portal concept can be replicated by other counties to streamline their plan check review process by ensuring the database integration for each program element, such as the record-specific database and document repository and time management system, are integrated with two-way syncing. The portal has allowed San Diego County to continue to provide quality environmental health services to our customers, improve productivity, increase some cost savings, and provide support for a happier, less stressed staff. And we decided to include, as you can see there on the hanging objects, those are just some quotes directly from our plan check staff. So in closing, I would like to thank everybody for your time and consideration in voting for San Diego for the Excellence in Environmental Health Award. And we're saving questions to the end. So I think that's it for San Diego.
All right. Oh, you're going for the bonus points for ending early. Great job.
You're welcome.
All right, so last but not least, we have Santa Cruz County, and Marilyn's going to take over introductions for her staff.
Good morning. Can you hear me? All right. Guys, confirmation you can hear me?
Yep, sound great.
Okay. So I'm proud to have three of the team present today to our success that we had this past summer in the beach, along the beach, and they'll be explaining that to you. but they are just three of a large team. We really called upon a lot of our folks in environmental health to help us with this work this year. Olga Zuniga is going to start it off. I think she is a senior environmental health specialist with the county. She's been working in the field in EH for over 20 years. She's responsible for our plan review, our mobile food facility, and our lead hazard reduction programs. She has chaired the Bay Area Mobile Food Facility Roundtable for 2 years, and she's currently the BAFTAC chair. She holds a degree in molecular, cellular, and developmental biology from UC Santa Cruz, is fully bilingual, Spanish and English, and that really helped out with this project. She is a self-declared workaholic that enjoys exercising with her son and creating art with her daughter. Carlos Aguilar is an environmental health specialist trainee with our Cooper program. He really worked tirelessly for us this past year during the CZU fire. Now he's taking lead roles in our CalARP and UST programs, working together with US EPA and Cal OSHA on inspections and we're finding some very important things to fix in some of our ammonia facilities. In the past career, Carlos was a professional bass opera singer from 2002 to 2014, where he was a resident artist with Opera San Jose. He sang in major roles, including Sarastro in Mozart's Magic Flute, Sparafusili, I hope I said that right, and Verdi's Rigoletto, and Colleen in Puccini's La Boheme. Shortly after his career as an opera singer, he also worked as a project manager for the Packard Humanities Institute, where he managed the digitization of Mozart's music and the digitization or archiving of William Randolph Hearst's newsreels. And lastly, Lindsay Cunningham will be presenting also as a registered environmental health specialist. She's worked for the consumer protection team for a number of years. Prior to that, worked in a number of other counties around the state, and she enjoys playtime with her dog Bosco and family. So with that, I'll let them take it away. Thank you.
So we're going to tell you a little story about equitable enforcement and permitting from our beach patrol team. And Lindsay is actually going to kick it off for us first.
Can you guys put your videos on the left bottom? It says start video.
It says we cannot start our video because the host has stopped it.
On the bottom left, you could click start. So let me check.
Okay. The host needs to give us permission to start the video.
Okay, so can you click on
there we go, start my video, thank you.
Hey guys, I'm Lindsay, my colleague, Carlos. Anyways, let's get this started, get this kicked off. Why are we here? Why are we doing this? SB 946 was signed in by the governor effective January 1st, 2019. Equity has become a big topic of concern in public health, so much that our county strategic plan incorporates equity in several of our lined out objectives. SB 946 allowed not even permitting, but street vending to be legal in the state of California. However, due to poor interpretation of the law a little bit, we've experienced an increase in unsafe food vending and non-compliance with required permitting within our county of Santa Cruz, along, I'm sure, throughout the entire state. So this is kind of why we started this process, which was complaint driven. Next slide. This is Envision Connect. I'm sure you guys are familiar with this. This is the complaint tab, if you will, where we fill out information. We received a complaint June 28th of 2021, which is reporting unpermitted street food vending on Beach Street down by the boardwalk. The complaint number, which was basically bar-coded on the back of our necks, was CO0011-692. This was used for a tracking mechanism to see how many hours we were, multiple staff for multiple different programs were using to track our time with these food vendors that were down, not abiding by the good, safe practices. Next slide. These were pictures taken of multiple vans, SUVs, of garbage, of waste, unsanitary conditions, individuals changing diapers, food prep underneath these vehicles, you name it. They were all scattered along Westbrook Street, which actually terminates into Beach Street, which we saw visually every day. And it was very concerning to the public, to people that were working in that area. This is actual Beach Street, infamous Beach Street, where we did a lot of monitoring, a lot of walking around. I don't know who took that picture, but it is a really busy area. It doesn't look as busy as it normally is in the peak season. But this is where predominantly most of this behavior was happening during this time. Next slide. This was an article that came out from Good Times, and it was basically kind of capturing one of the restaurant business owners feuding with these individuals, high pressures kind of situation. And this was released, caught a lot of community attention through the media, and brought a lot of alarming things to the public. This is a demonstration of like, why does it become an outrage? When does it get to that point? This pictures don't totally depict what was happening, but the street was actually shut down by Santa Cruz Police Department because of the outrage and demonstration of people socially wanting the beach. They're starting to actually support them and wanting them to be able to do business, and didn't understand why we weren't allowing it or shutting them down. Next slide. So it kind of wraps up with the support aspect of it. You can't have these individuals doing this type of behavior if they don't have financial gains. So people supporting them, actual people in the community, paying money to, they don't understand. There's no hand washing, there's no wastewater. It's just a process that we were concerned about, and we needed to step in. We didn't want anybody to be exposed to potential foodborne illness. And so that's when we had to step in and do something about it. So I'll pass it off to Olga at this point.
Good morning. So we got a complaint. They were seeing unpermitted vending happening on Beach Street. So what do? The natural thing was to set up a strike team. We got together with the police department and we decided to tackle that. And this is what we saw. On the weekend of the 4th of July, this was Saturday, July 3rd, we descended on to Beach Street, and this is what we saw. Pretty much we saw every single type of violation known to man. So here you see hot dog carts, no sneeze guard. We don't know where the food was prepared. And we were seeing things like, of course, a lot of food prep from home, no temperature control. In many cases, you can see fruit here without any ice at all, and no hand washing. While this cooler here looks like it might be a hand wash station, it's actually boiled corn. Along with that, this was just one booth. So they were set up for a long, busy weekend on Beach Street. There's a lot of food. And again, no ice. This is hot dogs and bacon. No ice whatsoever. While this cart looks like it might be good and have a steam table, it was actually out of temperature. And when it was all said and done, we had 3 truckloads full of carts. It was a lot of work. There was a lot of cleaning involved, throwing out garbage. Even with proper messaging, people were aggressive when we were on site. They were calling us names. I personally got called basura, and we were being videotaped as we worked. People were aggressive. One person actually had to be accompanied back to our staging area by police. Nobody wanted to do impounding again. And it was also very disheartening to see them return the next day. This article actually hit the news on Monday the 5th. The street vendors had spent the night, and they had these canopies where they kept their food, and they just set up the following day. So what did we do? We ended up with a patrol system instead. So because we didn't want to impound a lot of equipment, we decided to do more of a determined activity. So we set up a patrol system, and that's what it is. We would just walk up and down Beach Street, make our presence seen, and we had 2 to 4 people, depending on the time of the week, walking up and down. We had hours between 8 and 8 in the mornings, and we were there 7 days a week. We walked around, we picked up carts before they set up. We really did not want them to have a line of customers because at that point it really got aggressive. While we were walking around, we noticed these vendors were pretty well organized. They had a network. We knew we were being watched. They would see us walk by, and they would be texting each other, letting each other know where we were. And they set up merchandise booths we couldn't take down to be present on site. And they came out when we left. They would pull out a cart once we were gone. So we ended up having to extend our hours, not only to 8 o'clock at night, but 9 o'clock at night also. They had a lot of tactics as well. They would pretend not to speak English. They would use fake names, so we never knew who we were busting. They claimed not to have ID. They refused to sign reports, and then they would leave the equipment behind. They would just take off. They were also pretty advanced. They had QR codes for online payment, for credit card payment, and they paid for their parking lots with a cell phone, so we wouldn't see them walking to their vehicles. This really made it difficult on enforcement, and we thought, these QR codes we've seen on a couple of cards, there's got to be a big boss, right? So we started talking to the vendors. We were trying to collect information to see if we could find that big boss. Our relationship was pretty fickle. You know, they didn't trust us very much, and we really didn't trust them either. They were giving us a lot of lies. Pretty soon, they started to notice that we were leaving the ice cream vendors alone. So they started asking about permitting. They kept seeing other people selling. They saw the dollars going to other people. At first, they wanted prepackaged permitting, but we were a little concerned that they were going to use that as a front for other perishables. So we went back and forth with permitting requirements, and they ended up wanting their money back. And we don't know if it was correlated, but that day that we said, they said they wanted their money back, there was a cart out on Beach Street that night. And the next day, obviously, there was a lot of finger pointing as to who brought it out. And there was a lot of lying, and we were wondering even if on the prepackaged applications those were real names. And I mean, even we had a meeting with one of the vendors, and to the day that they showed up, they were giving us false names. But somebody did end up giving us their true name, and we did a little bit of research in social media, and we found them to be very active in social media. That list that you see there on the left bottom, that's actually a list of all the accounts that we correlated to these vendors, and there was also a coalition for them. Because nonprofits were involved, they ended up organizing a coalition. And through this social media research, we actually were able to determine, are there real names? And it turned out that it wasn't actually a big boss. It was actually 5 main interconnected food vendor groups. There was actually no big boss man. We found them to be from all sorts of locations. It wasn't just one group. It was actually people from Mexico. There was people from Guatemala, and there were people from Nicaragua. And the fact that we were able to find their real names allowed us to greet them with their real names. And actually, when we found them doing unpermitted activities, we can actually write their name down when we found them. And now Carlos is going to give us more information about what happened next.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Can we go to the next slide? Thank you. So one of the major things that I remember getting involved in was as soon as we started gaining trust and gaining communication with the food vendors on Beach Street, I ended up giving out my cell phone number so I can stay in contact with them. They didn't trust, they didn't know how to use emails, or they didn't want to use email. They didn't want to use a lot of other forms of communication. So I give out my cell phone number so that they can contact me directly. And indirectly, I would contact Olga when we would get, when they started wanting to comply. So one of the things they wanted to do was get new carts. So they would send me pictures of the carts that they were interested in getting and asking if they were compliant. So together with Olga and the rest of the crew out there on Beach Street, we ended up helping them say, yes, this was compliant, this was going to be enough for them to, or good enough for them to buy, so that we would approve it and get them on the right track for compliance with food vending. Next slide, please. Another thing that we ended up doing, and Olga was very big on doing this, was holding their hand through the whole entire permitting process, including actually accompanying them to City Hall to help them get city permits and other permits that were required for the safe and permitted vending there on Beach Street. Next slide, please. Once we got them to trust us and they started seeing the help that we were giving them to gain compliance there, they started buying these really nice carts, as you can see here in the pictures below. And it was great. It was wonderful to see them actually, you know, they had the money to actually buy these things. One of the biggest things I remember hearing in the beginning was that they didn't have any money. They would kind of give you a little sob story. But then once I kind of started talking to them a little bit, I started realizing, I said, hey, you know, when I told them, I said, how much money do you spend losing these carts all the time and having to buy new ones? I kind of sold them to the point that, hey, why don't you just do it? Spend the money now, do everything right now, and you'll be set for the rest, all the future years that come, you know, during peak seasons there on Beach Street. And so they ended up spending the money and getting these really beautiful compliant carts for the safe food vending. Next slide, please. One of the other things I got involved in was kind of, for whatever reason, maybe because I'm so tall and so big, they came up to me a lot to complain about other vendors fighting with them. So there was some fighting between the vendors. However, we used that to our advantage a little bit. After talking to them and kind of settling things out and kind of diffusing the situation, we ended up talking to them, and what ended up happening was they started policing themselves. So if they saw someone else doing something that wasn't permitted, after we've spoken to them about what was right and wrong, they would come to us and say, hey, this person is doing this bad and doing this bad. So we used this policing that they did amongst themselves to help us gain compliance with each other. So although there was a little bit of fighting in the beginning, it started to die down as soon as people started seeing that they were doing the right thing and buying the right carts and doing everything compliant. Next slide, please. One of the other things is that we had an agreement with these food vendors that we made them sign, primarily just engaging them and just telling them what they needed to do in order for them to stay there on Beach Street and to continue food vending there. Next slide, please. So the outcome was we permitted 6 limited food preparation carts, 3 prepackaged cut fruit carts, 5 ice cream carts, and helped start 5 small businesses. And everybody was permitted. So at the end of the day, you know, having the trust and the communication with them was absolutely imperative to get them to all comply and to get all the things that they needed in order to have a compliant food vending station. Next slide, please. One thing that we do take pride in is seeing them take pride in the steps they take towards gaining compliance and spending all that money on these beautiful carts that they have now in order for them to be compliant. It was a real joy for me, and I'm sure for everyone else, to see them have so much pride in in the efforts that they took to gain compliance and move forward with their business as well. Next slide, please. Some of the lessons that we learned was that impounding was a deterrent, and more than anything, having us there on Beach Street every day was a big factor. Just deterring them and just having our presence there stopped them from doing a lot of the unsafe food vending practices that they did. We also realized that we had to prepare to store and discard a lot of food as a result of the impounding. Impounding is a lot of work, and the presence of police does accelerate the situation there. So it does help actually to have police presence there and to help us with some of the outrage with the community, and understanding that we're all being watched. Every time we go out there and we do our patrol, they are watching us. They know that we're there. They know that we're at least enforcing what we're supposed to be enforcing. Next slide, please. In conclusion, I want to make this point. One of the most important aspects of what we did there on Beach Street was to have cultural representation from our department there to help them. I truly do believe that we would not have gained the compliance and the trust of these vendors if it wasn't for the fact that we had people of the same ethnic and cultural diversity as they're representing them here in the county. So our representation there, as far as Latinos go, was key to, and I think instrumental in gaining that trust, and then helping them communicate what they needed to get in order to be compliant. So I think that was a very important part of what we did there on Beach Street. As you know, a lot of these people, they don't trust very easily. A lot of them are undocumented citizens here, and so they're very hesitant to relay any information to any sort of government agency. So what we did was we did a lot of listening. We let them talk, let them know. We wanted to gain an understanding of why they were there and what they were doing in order to take the steps to be compliant. But just listening and letting them talk and ask questions to us was key for all this. We facilitated permitting, understood their personal limitations, and building trust. Obviously, trust and communication are the biggest keys to the success that we had there on Beach Street. All right, that's all. Thank you. All right,
fantastic, and you're right on time. Great job, everybody. We do have a few questions that came up from our audience. A couple questions. First of all, for Monterey, or for Riverside and San Diego, about the cost and funding sources for digitizing records and the plan check process as well. So if you could take no more than 1 minute in answering, we'll start with Riverside. Greg, if you're around.
Yes, I think the costs are going to depend on how detailed and how many records you have. We're managing it now with existing staff, and it's really just that what we learned over those years was to be more effective with our time. We use on-site scanners. We didn't have to. We bought a large plotter scanner to use for septic, and I'd have to get you the numbers, but that was 5-6 years ago, so that cost is different. And then the software pieces, it really depends on what you have on hand. We happen to have Laserfiche available through the county, but you don't need Laserfiche. We use Envision Connect, but it could be any SQL system to index your data. So we could discuss this offline. We could tell you our best practices for getting you there in a smarter way.
Okay, thanks. And San Diego?
All right, I think some of the questions were what software was used. So it's actually a web-based application that was created by our IT vendor, and that it happens to integrate with our BCMS system, which is the Cella, and EDMS, which is Documentum. And the cost was just over $100,000, so $100,000.
Cool. And other departments access your information as well? It's not just environmental health?
So currently, no, but the program definitely has that capability, and that may be the next steps that we take in order to expand the portal.
Okay. I guess while we're on the digitization of information, what steps are you taking to not generate paper in the first place? Both San Diego and, go ahead, Greg.
I guess I'll go first since alphabet. So similar to San Diego, we use a digital system for plan submittals, septic, wells where we can. COVID really helped us push that initiative. We required digital submittals for most of our plan checking across all of our programs. So since it's already in a digital format, all we're doing now is indexing it. We're not making most of that available to the public yet. It's digitized and available to staff. But going backwards, since we have a good model now, it's a downtime activity for people to purge records and go through, scan and index and drop them into the system. So that's how we're working backwards, but working forwards, we're encouraging electronic submittal across the board for all of our different program activities.
Okay, thanks. And Joanne, you want to take it for you?
Sure.
It is all digital?
Yeah, very similar in San Diego. Also, we're slowly updating all of our applications to be fillable, giving that option to submit digitally. Our biggest push was for plan check, and we were actually, pretty surprised at how well received that was and how quickly it was adopted by our operators to have that option to submit digitally. And you can see by our numbers just how quickly that jumped.
Okay, cool. Out of curiosity, maybe for Santa Cruz, about the street vendors, are they able to apply for their permitting activities online? Yes, no, maybe. Santa Cruz, you want to take that?
Olga, you going to take that?
Yeah. Are they able to apply for a health permit online for a cart?
Yeah.
They can fill out an application and submit it through email.
Okay. Thank you.
And then we would invoice and they could pay online credit card. Yeah.
Okay. Greg, one question for you about if you're planning on adding water quality and quantity data to the map to help with LAMP, GSA, other programs. Is that on your radar at all?
Yes and no. Not on the public side of the portal, at least not at the moment. In discussions with those the few discussions I've had with the Sigma entities, what they're more interested in is the wells that are going in a given GSA. So because we have all our records indexed and already working with GIS, we just ask them for a layer, and so they can add. We just tell them, give us a quick buzz on what time frame you want to know a well's going in and what are the parameters, and we can turn that around usually within a day because everything's accessible, all the well completion reports, and again everything's GIS coded, so we can tell you exactly where it is in their entity. And those Sigma entities at this point haven't asked us for that data, but we do have it. It's digital and it's available to staff on the back end.
Okay, thanks. A question for Monterey about is there a MEPHLI model training available that we can all adopt? So how are you able to push this out to the rest of us?
Yes, my video is not starting for some reason.
Okay, I'll get you started.
Right. There we go. Yes, okay. We have our website, and all of the templates, I believe, are posted on CCDH's website as part of the submission packet. And I'm also available for consultation with my Ted Lasso mustache.
All right, so you're available 24/7, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right, fantastic. Okay, well, that wraps it up for the Q&A, everybody. It is, as Jeff and Survivor says, time to vote. So what I'm going to do is I'll share my screen. A couple things I want to give you access to. First of all, you should all have have already completed your form. So you've filled out your score sheet and are ready to pick the winner. And what you're going to do is you can use your computer or your phone. You can hit the QR code. Everybody hopefully can see the QR code on their screen with the selection options. If you enter the Slido number, if you go to your computer and enter slido.com, if you're on a computer, it'll take you to this screen. You enter the code 4949 right here. 4949 is our participant meeting number. And you just hit enter, and that will bring you to the screen where you now can vote for, make your selection. So go ahead and make your selection for who is the winner of the Excellence in Environmental Health Award. I'll give you a minute to do that, and then I'll reveal the results. We'll have the big reveal party here. All right. So I'm going to actually stop sharing and for a moment. So everybody should be there. Slido.com 4949 is the meeting number. And I'm going to stop the share for a second. I'll turn on the results and then I'll reveal them.
And can you show the QR code again in case someone wants to use that?
Okay. Let me go back and share my screen again. So there's the QR code. So you can use your phone, your camera function on the phone to hit the QR code, and that'll bring up the survey where you can vote. Give you a minute to do that. Or like I say, go to slido.com, enter 4949, and hit enter in the meeting number. I don't want to share my screen with you yet and reveal the results just yet. We'll give you another 20 seconds. All right.
So we've got 50 participants, Tim, and we've got, what, about 40?
Yep. We have 37 people that have voted so far.
Well, the participants the speakers get to vote too, right?
Well, one vote per jurisdiction, I think, technically, but we're not going to be probably checking IP addresses here unless it goes down to the wire. Okay, the big reveal is coming. Okay, I'm gonna close the poll in 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, the voting is now closed. And the results are, let's see. Okay, I'll share my screen with you. Drum roll. Anybody have a drum roll handy? Okay, there's the winner.
Yeah,
we have Santa Cruz is the winner. And coming in second place is Riverside, in third place Monterey, fourth place San Diego. All righty. Congratulations to the winner, and to everybody's a winner, you know, in CCDH. So that goes without saying. So thank you all. I'll turn it back over to Dave to wrap us up.
Okay. Am I on? Yeah, I'm on. All right. Well, thank you everybody for participating in our Excellence in Environmental Health program. And with that, we'll give you 5 minutes of your time back and close this session.